This is a TAB Media special report on ministry efforts in Eastern Europe. I'm your host, Jennifer Rash, and joining me are John and Maria from Bucharest, and they are going to be able to share lots of ministry efforts that are going on in their church, Holy Trinity Baptist Church in Bucharest, Romania, as well as how they're working across the border in Ukraine. Welcome, John and Maria.
Thank you for having us here.
Hello, thank you.
All right, I am calling them John and Maria because I can pronounce their Americanized versions of their names. But go ahead and introduce yourselves in your Romanian, with your Romanian name, so we can know more about you that way.
So we are Iubas, that's the family name, Nelutu.
And my name is Maria Roxandra, but it's easier for people to say Maria.
All right. Well, thank you, and thank you for being here. They are in Alabama this week. They have arrived on the one. We are 1 month away from the second anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And so they are here for other reasons, but we were able to catch up with them for a few minutes while they're in town. We are in the podcast studio at TAB Media Group, the main office in Birmingham, Alabama. They are doing some work with the Romanian-American Mission. John, you are the president.
Yeah, I'm the president of Romanian-American Mission in Romania.
Right. So they're here on business, but we also wanted to hear a lot about what's happening in their ministry efforts. So let's start with the news element. So with Ukraine, there's new information out every day about the war and what's going on there. And it's really hard for me to believe it's almost 2 years. 1 month from today, we're recording this on January 24th. February 24th will be the 2-year anniversary. Go back for me for a little bit and walk us through these last 2 years, the work that you do in Bucharest and how that's been impacted by the war, some of the ministry efforts you've seen, you've been involved in, any of the parts and pieces that you can share and what it's been like for your congregation.
Yeah, so our involvement in Ukraine has been longer than the last 2 years. We've been involved in Ukraine in camp ministry and church planting.
Okay.
So we had already the connections there. So when the war escalated, because it started in 2014.
Good point.
And escalated, some pastors from Bucharest got alongside and asked ourselves, how can we be a help for the Ukrainians? And the first thought was, let's open our facilities, our church buildings, our homes, and host as many as we can. So this is how we started. And we started in the actually first week after the war escalated. Wow. We started open our church, and all our Sunday schools became dormitories. We put the mattresses, bunk beds, and everything we can find, and we started to host people there. And immediately after 2 weeks, we saw that it's not enough space for that. So by God's grace, a year before the war, we bought a camp.
Oh, okay.
We not managed to pay the camp yet at that point, not even now. We still have to pay a small piece of that. But the owner, because he was a believer, he gave the full ownership on the property, even though it was not paid yet.
Really?
So at that point, we said, okay, we have the property of the camp. It was not ready yet for being as a place to host people. Mm-hmm. But we took people from our church and other churches, and we went there for a week and a half, and we redone all the rooms and everything so we can make it really comfortable for the people. So there we had 105 beds available. And after that point, the church was full, the camp was full. We moved to another church, that was full. Wow. We rented a place, that was full. And then we found another place was for sale from some partners. And because the price was high, we said, okay, till you find a buyer, can we use the property? Mm-hmm. So I would say by the end of March, we had 5 centers running. And my wife, Maria, she was taking care of the centers. And by the end of March, we had 300 plus volunteers involved in the ministry in Bucharest. This is how we started.
Wow. So you were ready.
Yeah.
You didn't even really have to think about it. Were you, Maria, were you organizing the volunteers as well as the work at the center?
Yes, but mostly I was working with hosting.
Okay.
So people call me and they ask me if we have beds available.
Right.
And I was coordinating the hosting accommodation.
Was it just natural for you to roll right into that effort? How did you just know what to do and move so quickly?
I don't think it was natural, but I would say this. So for a few years before that, we were looking to the Book of Acts and bringing this idea of serving, sharing the gospel and serving outside of the church buildings. And we had this dream and this prayer. And a year before war escalated, we opened our facility and we hosted 5 other churches from the city. So we had Saturday events or services, Sunday events with 4 churches. So it was really crowded, the building. And we were praying about that, but we didn't have the sense that we are actually involved outside of the church walls.
Okay.
But when war started, we saw an opportunity that people who are not yet believers and people who are on the streets, people who have no hope, people who are in fear and all of that, they are there ready to receive love, ready to receive the gospel, ready to be touched by the gospel. So we said, oh, this is our chance. God is bringing us an opportunity to live out what we preached, what we saw in Book of Acts.
Wow. So
we got prepared in sense of the heart, not in sense of the logistics.
Okay.
But I'll be honest with you, the first 2 months were just crazy. I mean, my wife, most of the nights she was at church and I was at home with the kids.
Okay.
Because the phone was ringing and ringing. We have people. And we started to collaborate with the emergency base of Romania, which is a department of the firefighters. They were taking all the refugees that are coming in Romania, and we were partnering with them because they knew us at church, we have good care of the people. Okay. So imagine in middle of night, somebody's calling you and said, we have a bus of 40 people. We will come at church. They will not even ask, you have space for that?
We're coming.
We're just coming in the middle of the night, unloading the bus with people, get the people in the big sanctuary, and then figure out if you have beds or not. And if you don't have beds, we actually put mattresses on the floor and sleep till the morning. And Maria's job was in the next day to find places in the country, trusted partners, NGOs or churches to host the people. So this is how we actually did. We were not prepared logistically, prepared by saying we were prepared in hearts. We were ready to be there to serve because we stayed in the scripture and that pushed us to that moment, but not logistically.
But wow.
Yeah, during the week in the church, on the platform on the stage, we had mattresses, and also on the hallways, on every spot that it was free, we put mattresses. to help as many refugees as we can.
But you know, I hear what you're saying, being ready in the heart's ready. You can figure out the rest, you know, and it works out. That is incredible. Well, fast forward for me 2 years now. Where have you seen God work, and what's been happening?
So we had the opportunity as church to see people getting baptized in our church from Ukraine. So our Romanian ministry continued with what we've done in the Romanian environment. But also the ministry with the Ukrainians had started with a way of just hosting and giving them food. But that went to a holistic ministry. Because we had the chapel nights, prayer nights with them. We developed a simultaneous translation system. And so every Sunday since that point, even now, we have a group of 30, 40 Ukrainians that are coming to our church, hearing in their ear through the system that everything translated. So we had a chance to celebrate Jesus and what he does in the lives of Ukrainians. We have baptisms. We had actually a month ago, I think we had a wedding. One of the guys who got baptized in our church, his girlfriend came from Ukraine, and they got married in Romania. And now they are in Norway. They moved to some friends in Norway, and they started a new life there. So we had moments to celebrate how gospel is changing their lives. Also, what was interesting for us, we had a large group of people from Islamic world who were living in Ukraine, and they were not Ukrainians by birth, so they were allowed to leave the country. They had businesses in Ukraine, and they, even though they were men, they would leave the country. So till they got to their back their hometowns or home countries. They went to our church and stayed with us for 2 or 3 days. One of the good things is that a lot of testimonies from them, they were like this. We were in a Christian church, us as Muslims, in a Christian church, sleeping here, but seeing their love and their ministry, it touched our heart strongly.
Wow.
So, I think the ministry that we've done with them had a larger impact than we ever can imagine or think about it. Yeah.
And we may not ever know what trickles from
exactly.
there, right?
We never know that perhaps the people who stayed in our church for a week or two is now in Canada or whatever. And we will hear perhaps here, or we will hear in heaven, that the ministry on those days had actually touched their heart and was the moment when they started to walk with Jesus.
I know that's got to be encouraging to not only both of you, but your church members, just this. What have you seen happen in the spirit in the lives of your congregation?
I will take you back to the first day. So first day, I was a businessman for 15 years.
Okay.
So in 2022, exactly before the war escalated, I decided to step out from the business. I mean, I made that decision several times before that, but that was the moment when I said to my wife, "I have to finish this segment of my life," because I was the senior pastor and I couldn't do both. It was really hard, and actually I was sacrificing my family, and that was not right.
Right.
So I said I will give up on my business, and that was the day after. So the war started in 24th, and the first Monday of the second week, I was delivering my last car, because we were a car shop fixing and selling cars.
Oh, okay.
So I was delivering the last car. And delivering the last car, Maria was at home, and Roxy is her other name, just to be clear. Yes. So my wife, Maria, was at home, and I was calling her and say, I just got a call, and it seems that we have some Ukrainians that are coming to church. And we never announced that we are opened to receive Ukrainians.
Oh, okay.
But one of the guys from our church, he was in a discussion with some brothers from Republic Moldova, and they asked, so what are you going to do, you Romanians? And he said, well, our church, we will be open to receive Ukrainians and help them. So I was traveling, delivered this car with a long trailer after my car. Maria was home. I called her and said, we have Ukrainians that are coming. We had nothing. We had just 2 sofas at church. Okay. I called one of my colleague pastors and said, we need mattresses. So he said, okay, I will go with my Nissan Pathfinder to IKEA and take all the mattresses I can put inside. Okay. So he went there. I called in another friend of mine from church and I said, guys, we need bed sheets because we need to, put something on the mattresses. And they called other people and they figured out. And then I said to Maria, we need ladies to cook because those people are coming here and need something to cook. All ladies from our church were coming that day, starting to cook. Young people from our church coming to prepare toilets, prepare rooms and everything.
Wow.
So I would say the first 2 weeks, everybody from our church and other churches that were part of this collaboration, we call it UBC, Ukrainian Bucharest Churches, 22. Okay. That was the start of it. And we got there and every member, doesn't matter the age, the status, the role or whatever, you could see them on a hallway or somewhere just serving. So I would say it was an opportunity for the people to get alongside together in a common cause. And that was serving the Ukrainians. So that was a blessing for the church.
Right.
Of course, because it's almost 2 years later, that brought also some let's say tiredness in the community.
There's an exhaustion that comes.
Yeah. But praise the Lord, we still have people who are on the, let's say, front lines in the centers.
Right.
Working there, serving there. We develop a system and now we have teams that are coming and cooking. And now after 2 years almost, we have also Ukrainians that decided to live in Romania to stay with us and serving with us.
Oh, that's incredible.
So we have half of our staff now of the volunteers who are working at the centers. They are Ukrainians. Ladies who are cooking, young boys and girls who are taking care of the rooms and cleaning and stuff like that. So now the team, it's mixed. We have Romanians, Ukrainians, and actually we have also 2 Moldovians and some Americans who moved to Romania and stayed there just to serve in this time of period.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And what about church plants? What's happening in that area?
So church plants, I would say in Romania we stopped a bit because of this moment. But the reality is that in midst of suffer and this hard moments in Ukraine, church plant was increasing in Ukraine.
Okay, so it's almost like they shifted there in the focus. Yeah. Okay.
The idea is this. Some of the churches, big churches, and I will refer now to the Baptists, some big churches in East Ukraine had closed.
Okay.
Because pastors and people had to leave the villages or the cities to move to central or west part or outside of Ukraine because of the bombing and occupation of the Russian. In the same time, after the cities and villages were cleared out and the Russians were pushed back, different families from Central Europe, from Central Ukraine or West Ukraine, have moved to East Ukraine and started new church plants. And the last 2 years, we had in Ukraine 34 church plants started. I'm also the regional director of M4 Europe, and that's a process for church planting.
Oh, okay.
And we help nations and denominations to do church planting. We are just a process. We are not a brand. So after years you go there, you not see an M4 logo or something like that. We're just helping an existing church to plant a new church.
You're doing the role of resourcing the work on the field. I love that.
Exactly. And we are a tool. We come alongside you for the first 2 years, make sure that you're doing the right thing based on the Great Commission, and we bless you. And we move on.
I love it.
and only through M14 process in the last 2 years in Ukraine, we had 34 churches that started to be planted. I had the opportunity in December to visit 10 of them. And those 10 of them, I visited most of them on the front lines. I mean, 10 to 20 to 30 kilometers away from the front lines. When you visited that church, you could actually feel the bombing and feel the tremble and feel all of that. And seeing in an environment like that, new church being planted, seeing in an environment like that actually this small group of 15 or 20 church members are the only hope for the community there.
Right.
We collaborate with them. We bring them food and stuff like that. They make packages and share the gospel and serve the community. And in the places where they don't have water, they dig fountains.
Yes.
And they took fresh water, or in places where they don't have electricity, we brought them big generators, and so people can come and charge their batteries and stuff like that.
Okay.
In places where they don't have heat, we start to build ovens so they can have like some fires and stuff like that. So the church became, let's say, the mobile of serving in all the areas of the community in Ukraine through that church planting. So through that, church planting has increased a lot in Ukraine, and we are so humbled. And on the other side, we are not surprised, because we know that in the midst of suffering, the disciples of Jesus are actually got stronger. And
the hope is still alive, but just the lights being through the people, the light of the people.
And on the same, I will underline this also, or emphasize this. In the same time, the evangelical church, and now I'll refer also to the Baptist church because I'm more involved with them. The Baptist church has become a partner in these hard times in Ukraine. I will just relate to a story. I've met, I will not give names because it's more safe this way.
Of course.
I met a high rank general close to the front lines, and he developed a good relationship with one of the Baptist churches because of one of two guys who are fighting in his team from that church.
Oh, okay.
They were asked to come to the arms, so they are brothers in Christ, and they share with their general about the church and about what the church is doing. So we had the opportunity to go there, talk with this guy, and pray for this guy, and it was a wonderful image. It was a public space, high rank general to be in the middle of us. We were like 12 or 13 people from Romania and United States. Right. We come alongside him, we put our hands on him, and we started to pray. And he started to cry. And he said, in these hard times, you, the church, you are our partner. because
Wow.
you know how to take care of us. It's not just giving us food. It's not just giving us water. You are actually praying for us. You are actually taking care of our souls. So that was really interesting because he publicly said that we are there for them, not just to give them food, but to give them something greater, and that's Jesus.
And how else could that happen except in a situation so extreme like this in so many cases? You know, when you're sharing that, it's reminding me, combining the compassion fatigue reality that happens and the reminder that how powerful that moment was for that general. How would you encourage those of us who are tucked away back here in the United States? And yes, we're watching the headline news and we keep up with a little bit of this and that, but we probably go about our daily lives and get caught up in our own stuff and maybe don't always keep the prayer going at the level that really should. How would you encourage us to continue praying in all that you've seen and all that's happening?
Yeah, I would encourage you by saying that we have to understand that nothing that happens in our world, it's lost of control. We have a God who's above everything. So he has a greater plan and he knows everything. He has a greater story than we ever think or ever thought about it. But he asked us, his ambassadors, he asked us, his disciples, to continue to do what actually he did. What he did, he was just journey with some guys, fishermen and people that were like not the high level guys of the society. But he journeyed with them, living with them, and sharing everything he had to share with them. But at the end, he shared his life. I mean, he sacrificed his life. And all of that just to build some good ambassadors, just to build the future disciples who will continue to give the message of hope, of love, of faith. I think the same thing we have to do today. Okay, God is in control. He knows all the story and everything. Our job is to journey together with all the people around us in seeking Jesus. So even though you're not in Ukraine, you can journey with us in prayer with the people who are in Ukraine, with the people who are in Romania, with the people who are now in all kind of cities and countries in the world, who left from their places and stay somewhere in either shelter, either house or whatever. We can journey together in prayer. We can journey together in helping. We can journey together in testimony and leading them to Christ, because that's the most important thing. I think the greatest victory in Ukraine, of course, we want them to be victorious in this war and this war to be stopped. But the greatest victory in Ukraine will be if the people who are there and the people who left Ukraine will find disciple of Jesus that will journey with them. And through this journey, they will see God's love, they will see God's forgiveness, and they will see God's purpose for their life. And that's to follow Jesus. I think that's the greatest thing. So I'm encouraging you, journey with us in prayer, journey with us in helping them, journey with us in give them a sense of this is not over. Now, what you see and feel here, it's not actually the reality. Beyond what we see and feel, it's a God who's there, willing to share his love, willing to share his eternity with us through Jesus Christ. So we can be there in the eternity with him by being here with him, by getting saved by him, by getting the hope that he gives. So let's just be travelers, you know. And actually, that's our reality. We are travelers.
I love
let's
that.
just be travelers in this journey of seeking Jesus.
I love that. I love that. Well, before I let you go, tell me a little bit about your family life. And, you know, as a young family, what it's like moving from a business setting. You were talking about the cars and what life was like to full-time ministry now, and just what your kids are thinking and how they're moving and navigating all the ministry elements as well. We'll make Maria talk this time.
So we have 3 kids, 8 years, 6 years, and 5 years. So in the last almost 8 years, I was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
But I was finished the social workers university, so I always like to work with people, to help people in need, and I was praying that God send me something to do.
You had no
not
idea.
just
You had no idea
ministry.
how he would answer that.
Yeah.
That's what that
And the
word.
war started, and also I said to the kids, okay, now the war started, we need to help those people. So they keep asking me, why you have to go there? Why you have to be at the church? And I explained to them, and we took them with us at the church, so they see what we are doing, and they keep asking every day after they came to the school and kindergarten to come with us at the church, and they want to help. We want to clean the toilets, we want to clean the dishes, to help everything we do at the center. So it was the dynamic of our family changed when the war started. But
sounds like you've adapted.
Yeah, and I think it was a blessing.
Yes, it was.
You have to know this. So we moved from Transylvania. We didn't grow up in Bucharest.
Okay.
So that's like 500 kilometers away from Bucharest.
Really? Okay.
So I started my university in Bucharest before Maria, 1 year before, and we got married in my first year of master's degree, and we started the ministry as a youth pastor and as a worship pastor for me.
Okay.
And I was serving with Maria before that in a youth ministry in the university.
All right. And when was this?
In Bucharest.
But what time frame?
That's 2008,
2012.
For you, yeah.
Okay.
For me, it's 2007.
Okay.
2012.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah,
A little longer.
Yeah. So we got married, and I was asked to be a pastor in a large church.
Okay.
Holy Trinity Baptist Church is the second large church in Bucharest.
Oh wow.
From a Baptist, and it's one of the churches that has a huge legacy in church planting.
Okay.
We planted 26 churches, and from 1995 till now.
That's incredible. That's a great number.
And we have a legacy of sending missionaries, and we
Okay.
have around I think nine missionaries sent abroad in Peru, Bolivia, Republic of Moldova, and some countries that I cannot tell the names because they're hard places to be a missionary.
Right.
And being in a church like that and having that legacy, coming from Transylvania, where churches are more like established, more like it's not that we don't have this kind of movement in missionaries, send missions and church planting. I mean, that was our experience back home. Coming here and being in this huge church with a lot of huge projects, we started to get alongside and work in those areas. But then the kids came, and Maria couldn't be part of the ministry, and that was something that was missing from the ministry. I mean, she's been part of the ministry, but just a short slice.
Right.
If you don't call the kids in ministry, because that's a ministry.
As I say, there may be a
that's
a large slice.
It's taking a lot of energy in ministry, and I would say this: it was a huge blessing for our family, because when the war escalated, I had the chance to work with my wife. So she moved in my office.
We share the same office. Yeah.
She moved in my office at church, and we work in the same office together. We go at work together. We come back home together.
Oh, that's great.
And that was a huge blessing for us. And also because it overlapped with the moment I give up on my business, because we were both working in our business and car industry, and we moved to the church together.
Okay.
So that was a moment when we saw that as a couple being a really huge blessing, but also as my wife said, on the kids. And I'll just share a short story.
Yeah.
So Philip, our middle son, all the time he was copying me. So on my business industry, I was having a lot of calls and staying on my phone call. And so you want a transportation from Frankfurt to Bucharest, or you want transportation from Berlin to that. So talking about transportation and cars and what type of car and so on. So I was seeing him a lot of times at home, taking just a toy or a broken phone, speaking like that. So you want so you have 2 cars or 3 cars? Should we send a big trailer or a small trailer? Should we do that and that?
That's fantastic.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Till the moment that I looked with my wife and said, these guys are actually imitating us. But they're not imitating me as a pastor, because I was also a pastor. They're imitating me as a businessman. That's not wrong.
Yeah.
But something in my heart was like, my first calling is for ministry, not for business. Business was because I couldn't afford to live from the ministry side. That's the reality in Romania and East Europe especially. So war started or escalated. We started to be more at church. One day, he and his brother Matthias, they were in a room at church and some other small kids. And Maria wanted to enter in the room. And they said, be quiet. I said, but what are you doing here? We have a service. I said, what? Yes, I'm preaching here. Oh. So he took some boys around him. He doesn't know how to read because he's just 6 years old.
Right.
That was when he was 5 years old.
Right.
But he had a book opened, and he started to share stories from the Bible that he heard from us with his friends and his brother. And he said, I'm a pastor. We have a service here. Don't interrupt us.
And in the last year, he said that he wanted to be a pastor like his dad. So it was a...
So that's a huge blessing,
Yes. I know your heart was just so full.
It was, I was so blessing that he's not that on the phone talking about cars, even though we
2
like
cars or 3 cars.
Yeah. It's more of a, should we go there and plant the church?
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, he also said that he wanted to go to Ukraine to help people.
So they are.
Let's hope that the war will not last until
he
will.
But they are watching, and they're absorbing so much. And just with all that you have going on, the fact that you even noticed both of those and then saw the difference, I love that. I love how God worked in that moment too. Yeah. Well, this is so great. I love what you are doing, and it's always a good reminder for me to remember to travel with you all in prayer. And so I do hope our listeners will do the same. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
I'll just say, be faithful. Be faithful. Doesn't matter where you are. Be faithful to the gospel. I think we live in moments that a lot of people are playing Christianity. A lot of churches are playing Christianity. If we lose our faith to the gospel, if we lose the focus on Jesus, we can just playing, but not being. We can just hoping to receive blessing, but it's just a hope that is wrong. If we are rooted in the gospel and if we are faithful to the gospel, I think great things can happen in our lives, in our family lives, in our churches, in our communities over the world. So be faithful to the gospel. That's my last thought.
I love it. Well, thank you both.